Right, Rangers, we've got a massive lineup of Rangers news to dive into ahead of tomorrow's huge clash with Spurs at Rangers. From Postecoglou gearing up for a fiery Ibrox return to Celtic showing cracks we must exploit. There's plenty to chew over, and let me tell you, some of these headlines are downright explosive. We'll dive into the refereeing scandal that's got Rangers fans fuming, the latest on Shankland's potential move to Ibrox, and why the club might be eyeing a Croatian wonder kid who's being compared to Conor Gallagher. Oh, and you won't believe what Todd Cantwell's been saying about his Rangers exit. It's beyond shameful, and you'll want to stick around for that. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single second of this. Let's get stuck in. Ange Postecoglou, eh? The man's back in Glasgow, this time with Spurs, and he's already calling Rangers a fairly intense venue. Aye, Ange, you'd know a thing or two about that, wouldn't you? Especially after all those trips to Rangers during your Celtic stint. Now, Tottenham are having a bit of a wobble themselves this season, but make no mistake, this Europa League clash is massive. Postecoglou knows Rangers don't roll out the welcome mat, especially not for someone with his history. He's fond of reminiscing, mentioning how well Rangers did in Europe during his time at Celtic, getting to the Europa League final and all that. Fair play, Ange, but you'd better hope that fond nostalgia doesn't turn sour when Rangers bring the noise at home. The crowd will be deafening, and I don't fancy Spurs' chances much if they don't get their act together sharpish. Of course, it's not just Spurs on the horizon. The weekend brings the Scottish League Cup final against, you guessed it, Celtic. A wee chance for some silverware to salvage this topsy-turvy season, eh? 11 points, adrift in the league. Let's not sugarcoat it. That's embarrassing for a club of Rangers' stature. Philippe Clement's managed to steady the ship a bit, but lose to Celtic again, and it's like lighting a fuse under the whole thing. Winning against Spurs could be the spark we need to take that momentum into the weekend. It's a 1-2 punch of European and domestic pride, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Here's a thought to chew on. Are we still paying the price for not strengthening the squad after Steven Gerrard left? Or is this current team simply not up to scratch when it matters most? Let's hear it, folks. The old Celtic are there for the taking narrative, eh? Well, it's not just idle chat this time. Hibs, bottom of the league, mind you, managed to show up at Parkhead and nearly embarrassed them. Over 2 expected goals conceded by Celtic at home. That's not the stuff of invincible champions, is it? If Hibs can carve out chances like that, surely Rangers can too, with a manager like Philippe Clement, who's no stranger to masterminding big wins in Europe. Clement's already shown he knows how to set a team up for the big occasion. Wins against Malmo, Nice, Olympiacos, all solid sides. Even that Lion result wasn't as bad as it looked if you factor in the chances Rangers created. So what's stopping us from going toe-to-toe with Celtic at Hampton and landing the kind of punch that's been missing far too often in these derbies? Now, Celtic might be rapid in attack and clinical as you like, but out of possession they're as leaky as a broken radiator. Their backline's got holes big enough to drive a double-decker through. Clement just needs to unleash the likes of Danilo and Hagi, go bold and play on the front foot. Sitting back and hoping won't cut it. We've seen how that script plays out. So here's the real kicker. If Rangers don't turn up and make Celtic sweat, is it the players, the manager, or the board who deserve the blame? Let's hear it from you. Oh, Mick McCarthy piping up about refereeing bias. What a shocker. Here we go again with the old chestnut that Rangers and Celtic get all the calls. Now, I get it, he's drawing from his 1980s wisdom, but come on, Mick, times have changed, and if you've been watching Rangers this season, you'd know the idea we're getting favorable treatment is a joke. 0 penalties awarded all campaign? That's right, not a single one. And as for VAR, well, it feels like it's been out to lunch when we've needed it. 4 decisions already flagged by the SFA's own panel as going against us, including that absolute howler of a handball against Sutar. Clement was right to be raging. What's a defender supposed to do? Tie his arms behind his back? The inconsistencies enough to make you want to boot the telly. McCarthy says it's not on purpose. Maybe not, but when you're on the wrong end of decisions week in, week out, it's hard not to wonder what's really going on. And the worst part, these calls can change games, even seasons. Here's a fiery one for the comments section. Do you reckon these dodgy decisions are just incompetence, or is there something more sinister going on in the way refs handle Rangers? Let's have it. The old Lawrence Shankland debate, the one that never seems to go away. Now, let's be honest, 3 goals in 16 league matches isn't exactly setting the heather alight, is it? Compare that to his form last season, topping the scoring charts, and you can see why folk were calling for him to get a taxi straight to Rangers. But football's a fickle beast, and right now the lad's confidence looks about as shaky as a Glaswegian on New Year's Day. Derek Ferguson's bang on. Body language says a lot. Watching Shankland these days, he looks like he's dragging a piano around the pitch. For a striker, confidence is everything, and when that goes missing, the goals dry up. Sure, he's got the experience, he's been a captain, and at 29, he's still got some years in the tank. But is that enough? If we're talking January, spending money on a player who isn't firing on all cylinders feels like a gamble. A free transfer in the summer might make sense, but do we want to build our attack around a guy who's already shown he struggles when the chips are down? Rangers need players who thrive under pressure, not ones who shrink. Here's the real question for you lot. Is signing Shankland a smart move for Rangers, or is this just another case of looking local when we should be aiming higher? Let's hear your thoughts. It seems like Rangers are keeping their options wide open, with some intriguing names popping up on the transfer radar. First up, young Tommy Watson from Sunderland. The lad's clearly catching eyes after his recent performances. 2 goals to turn the game against Stoke at 18 years old. That's a proper statement. He's quick, powerful, loves a one-on-one, and seems to have the resilience to keep going even if he fluffs the first attempt. Exactly the kind of spark we could do with out wide. But here's the catch. Now that he's broken into Sunderland's first team and made a splash, his price tag will be heading skywards faster than a Joe Arabo screamer. Onto Marco Soldo from Osijek, and this one's exciting too. The Croatian playmaker is a Conor Gallagher-esque dynamo, 6'2", but with the feet and brain to create and attack. 4 goals and 4 assists already this season. That's some output for a lad playing in a deeper role. Versatile too, slotting in as a number 6 for his country, but pushing further forward for his club. The comparison to Gallagher is tempting. A midfielder who can scrap for possession and actually do something once he's won it. That's a profile Rangers could absolutely use, especially with our European ambitions. Here's the question though, where does Soldo fit? Nicholas Raskin's been brilliant in the number 6 role, and Diamande looks increasingly comfortable further up. Do you risk upsetting the balance of the midfield by bringing in another big personality, or is Soldo too good a talent to pass up? As for Watson, it's a different dilemma. Do we gamble on youth and potential, or should Rangers focus on players ready to make an instant impact? Is it worth breaking the bank for an 18-year-old winger when other areas need reinforcement too? Let's hear it. Well, Todd Cantwell's at it again, isn't he? The lad's been flapping his gums about his Rangers exit, claiming he would have lost an entire season if he hadn't demanded a move. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he also say he never refused to play for the club? Seems like he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Let's not forget, Rangers gave Cantwell the platform to showcase his talents on some of football's biggest stages. Old Firm derbies, European nights, under the lights, and in front of one of the most passionate fan bases around. And how does he repay that? By handing in a transfer request and then patting himself on the back for it. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. It's rich for him to feel proud of forcing a move, especially when his time at Ibrox was hardly stellar. Sure, he had his moments, but consistency, not so much. And now he's hinting at a possible return. After these antics, he'd be lucky to get a warm welcome back in Glasgow. So here's one to stir the pot. Is Cantwell's behaviour a sign of a player putting himself above the club, and should Rangers ever entertain the idea of taking him back? Let's hear your thoughts. If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now.